morning, y'all. Welcome back to yet a beautiful day in Parsons Productions world. In today's episode, we are working on the Suzuki SV650. So in the last episode, you may recall, we did a bunch of work to get this thing somewhat mobile. Yet it's been sitting in the garage for quite some time now, about a week-ish. And it is definitely time that we get this beast of a blue butte back on the road. So first things first, we need to get this tire situation as well as the fork situation all settled out so it's actually mobile. This thing is not really on there. As you can see, it's kind of just hanging out. That end of the fork is broken, so it's barely hanging on there, and I really don't like the way it's sitting. So as you saw in the last episode, we installed the electric shop hoist. And this is exactly what I bought this for, so I don't drop the Suzuki on the STI. So the first things first we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and take the Suzuki, push it over here, and lift it up with the hoist so it's nice and safe and nothing falls this time, so we don't have any more dropped motorcycles. Let's get into today's episode. Okay, so this is my first real application of lifting anything with the electric hoist, so I'm a little nervous on how this is gonna go, but I've got the remote in my hand. I'm gonna kind of guide this thing up so it's I don't see any signs of anything bad happening, so I think it's okay. That cable's pretty tight, but yeah, I think that's okay. That's just enough to lift the tire off the ground. It's kind of sitting on a kickstand at the moment, but I'm going to now remove the wheel, and then I've got a brand new wheel that came in the mail. There's this massive boy, and I'm going to put this one on because this one is not bent and the other one is majorly bent. So we're gonna install this one. This one I'm a little concerned about. On eBay, they were ranging from prices between like $200 to like $500. And there's no way I was gonna spend that much, but I found this one for $75. I don't know why this one was so cheap. It has a little bit of curb rash here and there, but like, other than that, it's fine. Like, I have no clue why this thing was so cheap, but it was, and we're gonna install the crap out of it, so let's do it. Okay, so we got the old wheel off. The nice thing is this tire is really good. It's really good still. It's almost brand new. The only thing that is wrong with it is it was in an accident, as the bike was. So what our plan is we're gonna take this wheel and we're gonna swap it with the brand new ZX6R wheel. If you'll notice, this thing is no longer gray, it's black. I painted this 5 coats of primer, then like 16 coats of black, and then a ton of coats of clear. So it's really done. It looks really good though. I'm pretty proud of it. And yeah, we're gonna swap those wheels because that tire is really good, and this one is good, and this will go on a ZX6R front end conversion on the KZ750, and we'll have 2 really good wheels. To fit the nice brand new wheel we got yet another package to discuss today. Let's get into that. Right here is a long boy package. You might have a feeling what it is. We have some brand spanking refurbished shocks for the SV650. I also found these on eBay as well, smoke and deal. They came with a front axle. They are used, but they're refurbished, and they are almost, they're like new. But these are gonna replace the super crappy ZX600 forks that I put on just temporarily, and those are going to be replaced right now. Let's get into that. Say goodbye to the ZX600 shocks. Okay, so it's been about 2 days since I've last worked on the SV, and Aspen got a fresh fade. What do you think? I think it looks pretty clean. Did it myself. Definitely you can tell I did it myself. There's a few long spots here and there, but he looks clean. Isn't that right? Anyway, the SV650 has been hanging from this hoist the entire time for a solid 48 hours, and my ceiling's still here, which is good, right? I don't think it's going anywhere. It definitely could like just break at any moment and just collapse and the whole ceiling comes down, which would be awful. However, it hasn't happened yet, so I'm very thankful about that. What we need to do in today's episode, before we get installing the forks, my silly little butt decided to suspend the bike right next to the triple tree. And that's great and all, but I need to take this triple tree off, and I'm worried that that strap is gonna be an issue. So I think I need to lower it down and have it suspend by either the engine block or so, just because, or probably to the frame would be more ideal. Just because I don't want anything to interfere with the block, the pivot point here. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to finagle this down a little bit, just so we can get the whole forks going, because I've been delaying on this project for far too long. Let's get into swapping this setup up. That is a lot better. I have the bike now supported by the frame itself instead of the triple tree mount. So now my next step is to unbolt the ZX600 triple tree, get the stock SV650 triple tree back installed, and then we will have a lot more room to go. Let's go. So now it is time for the new forks. Like I introduced them already, they are rebuilt, so they're a little on the squishy side, to be honest, but I can adjust that. I'm gonna go ahead and install these, and then it's time for the top part of the triple tree, and we're moving right along. So the one thing I'm pretty stoked about is the new forks came with a new axle. The old axle was okay, but it had a slight bend in it. So this one is gonna be much nicer. And it's not bent, which is the good part. And it's also time for the brand new wheel. Would you look at that? The very first time the bike's been on its own 2 feet in a little bit. The wheel is officially mounted, so are the shocks. However, there is this weird gap, and I'm not quite sure what's up with that. The wheel is going back and forth this direction. I'm not really sure if there's a spacer that it needs. Oh, duh, there is a spacer. I'm gonna get that spacer on, and then then we'll get back to that. Okay, so that's much better. The speed sensor right here, I forgot about it, and it wasn't balanced right. It was, the wheel was all moving back and forth on it. So it is balanced now, and the wheel spins great. So now it's time to install some brakes, and then we can set the bike fully on the ground, and then we'll finish up the triple tree portion. So the brake system is all wrapped up. There is a few loose ends here and there. For the most part, it's all together. I don't know if it stops at all, but we'll have to figure that out once the handlebars and everything else is installed. But next, we're gonna figure out how to reinstall the ignition as well as the handlebars, and then we're moving right along. So the SV650 is really starting to take shape here. It looks like a motorcycle once again. Definitely a little rough around the edges. What we have left to do now is we have the radiator to replace. We have the headlight cluster as well as the gauge cluster to install. Replacement gauge clusters I found online were ranging from ridiculous prices. However, I did find an individual who was parting a SV650 out, and he had this little guy for sale, and I've got it for a fraction of the price. It is a little scuffed up. Compared to the other ones though, this was a smoking deal, so I'm super glad I found this. I don't know if you recall in the last, or the very first episode when I started disassembling it, but this is what the original one looked like, so obviously it had to be replaced. This is what it looks like before an incident, this is what it looks like after the incident, so definitely need to be replaced. The mount itself looks like this. It is very bent from the crash, so we're gonna have to straighten it out. The one thing I am a little concerned about is this right here. This is the headlight bezel as well as the blinker module, and you can see it is very, very bent. I think we might be able to salvage this. I just need new blinkers itself, but the mount itself is in decent shape. I can easily bend this back into shape. It's metal. Metal is easy to bend with heat or just with brute force, so I should be able to get this back and going, but I'll definitely need new blinkers at some point. It goes on the forks, so I'll have to take the top of the triple tree off, unfortunately. I kind of probably should have done this prior, but you know, you live and you learn. Trial and error, right? But we're gonna take this and bend it back, as well as the mounting bracket for the speedometer. So let's get into that. Okay, so the front end is pretty much all wrapped up. I am missing a headlights. I was gonna try to straighten out all of this right here. It is a little too far gone, and I'm thinking about going with a slightly different style of headlight setup anyway. So I think I should be okay on this. However, the one cool thing is if we touch this little battery guy, right to that guy, and we put the key in the ignition, I can get it in there, there it goes. We have lights. Look at that. That is too cool. Why did it go to 7,000 RPM? Okay, cool. I'm assuming that's okay. I'm getting a check engine light, and that's the main reason I did want to have this gauge cluster here, just in case I did come up with any engine codes or any kinds. So I'm seeing them and not just not seeing them. I think our next step is to get the radiator replaced. Let's go ahead and tackle that. Okay, so this is a box. This box I've had in storage for quite some time. It is the new radiator for this SV650. Brand spanking new. This was actually pretty affordable. It's only like 50 something bucks, so it's not too bad. But the other radiator has a hole in it, so we definitely need a new one. I have yet to unbox this thing. Wow, look at that. That is fresh. Fresh little rad. It's a rad radiator. Can't say I've ever installed a radiator before. This is my first radiator install. Brand spanking new. Packaging is pretty incredible. Give them a 10 out of 10 for packaging. All right, there it is. Brand new radiator for the SV650. This is supposed to be an OEM replacement. It looks exactly the same. I bought new coolant too, so let's go ahead and install this. Okay, so first up on the list, we need to get the old radiator out. Looks like there's just a few attachments. We'll unbolt it. So I got the radiator off. You can see, wow, that thing got really crooked there. That's unfortunate. But I'm gonna have to replace a few parts. So these side mounts, oh, there's coolant coming out of that. These side mounts are gonna have to come off. The fan is gonna come off. I'm gonna reuse the radiator hose as well as the thermostat. Let's dig into that. Okay, when comparing radiators, these look just about identical. Unfortunate thing is the fan, I didn't realize, was pretty bent. The fan itself looks fine, it's just the housing. So I bet I can straighten that out and it should be just fine. So let's swap over these brace supports as well as these rubber bushings and continue. Okay, so in no way, shape, or form am I at all proud of this. This is the radiator fan now. I've been working on this for quite some time. It was bent, bent beyond repair. I've tried hammering it out, I tried bending it all sorts of ways and shapes and forms, but I ended up taking the angle grinder and I cut like 4 different pieces off of it just to get it to fit because the fan kept hitting. And it's not the prettiest. It's definitely not OEM, but it looks better. It doesn't look better, but it works is the important part now. So now it can go back on the bike. You won't really be able to see it. So I mean, this may be temporary. I might try to find a better radiator fan because The mounts for it are backwards. You can see these ones come on the front side, on the back side, and then these ones go to the front side, which is a little odd. I think it's just a slight, I don't think this is quite OEM, it's just maybe an aftermarket replacement one, but it wasn't quite perfect. So I'm going to put this back on the bike now, and we'll see how it fits up. Okay, so the radiator is finally installed after a lot of somewhat modifications, and it looks pretty good. The fan spins nice and freely. It's not OEM, but it's in there. The forks are all done. I did notice I've got a bit of a caliper leak here. Don't know if that's the line or if it's the actual caliper itself, but we'll have to take a closer peek at that. The downpipes here still needs replacing. I do have a replacement downpipe. It's supposed to be pre-owned. I can definitely tell it's pre-owned. And we've got the seat that's already been ordered. I have not ordered this new fairing yet or this new exhaust yet. I can tell you right now, when I start this thing up, it's going to be so loud with that exhaust broken. Could use definitely a good wash. The clutch doesn't seem to quite do a whole lot. I'm gonna have to take the clutch cover off and peek at that. The brakes are gonna have to be bled because those don't seem to be doing anything at the moment. Oh, I can see it's leaking right there. Maybe it's just the O-ring. I'll have to maybe replace that. And that's about it. So the bike is getting so close to its initial start and first test ride, and I cannot tell you how excited I am. So thank you again for watching another episode of Parsons Productions, and I'll catch y'all in the next episode of the Suzuki SV650 restoration. Thanks again for watching.